Okay, today's update on the 13th of August is again on my usual topic these days, the number of COVID cases in Nha Trang. Um, at 7 a.m. August 13th, 2,053 total cases were reported in Nha Trang, of which I believe all of them were either in quarantine facilities or in lockdown areas. Certain parts of the city have been locked down by neighborhoods if there were several COVID cases there. So anyway, what that number means is, to put it in perspective, on August 7th, my last video, I announced 1,400 cases. That was 5 p.m. on August 7th. For that report. So that means we've gotten 653 new cases since then, which is, I believe, roughly 5 days. Okay, so yeah, we aren't doubling anymore, which is very positive, but the cases still are coming up a little bit under 100 a day on average. But I thought I'd look at some other things here. I'm looking back on the 5th of August when close to 50% of the new cases in Nha Trang City were community transmissions. And that was 50% was probably about the highest reported ever. But basically, from about early August until the last few days, there have been a fair number of community transmissions. And whereas, okay, I'm trying to get up to a little more recently. I'm not sure if we ever broke 50% of them in community, maybe earlier in or later in July, but I'm not going back that far. But anyway, obviously, a lot of the community transmissions were discovered, and then those people were put into quarantine or lockdown areas. Okay, so then if we get a little bit later, say the last several days, it's been going down fairly rapidly to where, the last few days, I'm going to say maybe 3 days, we've been looking at, let's see, just to backtrack here. On the 10th of August, there were roughly 20%, maybe a little bit less, of the new cases were community transmissions. This may have not been the entire day's total, but one of the reports on the 10th of August was 19 community transmissions out of 127 new cases in Nha Trang. Then getting into the last few days, August 11th, it looks like 1 out of 98 were community transmissions. No, actually, there was another one, and there were more cases total, I believe. So probably out of about 170 cases, it looks like there may have been 2 community transmissions. They give these updates on Nha Trang Club every few hours, so a little bit difficult to keep tabs on a daily basis. Okay, then we get to the 12th of August, yesterday, and it appears none of the new cases were community transmissions, at least, maybe I spoke too soon. Yes, there was one yesterday in the third report, on the 12th. So one out of a bit under 100 cases were community transmissions. And today, well, today's report was at 7 a.m. And it appears none of those new cases have been community transmissions. So arguably that's good news that the COVID cases that are appearing are majority are appearing in quarantine, which one would hope, I suppose, considering we've been in a very strict lockdown for over a month now. So it's questionable just how many people are getting out and circulating in the community, and considering the large number of people being held in quarantine facilities or in lockdown areas, it's not overly surprising that the case numbers there are where, I mean, that is where the number of new cases is generally appearing. So it's kind of hard to find a lot of good news about COVID, but it does seem that there is maybe something positive in that, at least in the last few days, the number of community transmissions has fallen very dramatically. Whether it's falling enough that the government will decide to loosen some of the restrictions, maybe reopen the beach and restaurants for dining in, or even takeout food, that remains to be seen. I think the current order will go till August 22nd, so we shall see what happens. Not much else is changing here. The airlines are not flying domestic flights on nearly any route, so leaving Vietnam is a bit of a headache if you're not actually living in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, where the international flights are departing from at the moment. So if you're here, you're probably going to be here for a while. Just how long that will be remains to be seen. The airlines keep putting back on when they're going to start having domestic flights. I believe there will be an announcement within a few days whether this will be continued beyond, I think, the current stoppage of flights, which I think is now listed at August the 16th. So people do seem to be voicing frustration that they've maybe had a flight out of Vietnam and they've booked a domestic flight, say, sometime in August, only to be told that flight has been canceled, or at present, pretty much all flights have been canceled.